Most of the time on the right, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you okay? How
Okay.
is it now?
Not right now.
Does it ever go up into your neck and into your head? Give you a headache? Anything
A
like that?
little, every once in a while, yeah, but it's not very often.
And how far down the arm does it usually
All
go?
the way down to my fingertip.
Okay. Does
He's
it
been
stay-
losing sleep because of it. Like there's been times when he's like up in the middle of the night, and I would know because I'm always up in the middle of the night going to the bathroom. But he's been losing a lot of sleep because of it.
Yeah.
He's had to call in a couple times to work because it just kills his arm.
Gotcha. Okay. You've never had it, excuse me, anything like this before, huh?
No.
Okay. Well, good news is this is easy to work on.
Yeah.
That's the good news. It's nothing usually too rough. I mean, it sucks. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
So it does suck, but it's treatable. It's not that hard to work. Now, think about one of the main, because I like to fix things, so I'm going to think about what actually causes this. And so you have muscle spasm, and it's grabbing the nerves that are next to it. It just causes a big pain in the neck, right? Pain in the shoulder, and then radiates. But ultimately, the reason why muscle spasm like this is because they're not strong enough to do the work that they're asked to do.
Okay.
And so it's getting stronger is easy. Like, that's why I always like, this is the easy part. This is the fun part. Getting strong is the fun part. And so that will be like, this is what fixes it. This is what keeps it from coming back. This is how, and I like things simple. Personally, I don't like 5 exercises. I like 1 exercise. If I can get one done, I go for it. This is one that I like because there is a one and done exercise for this particular issue that I really like. It's like a newer type of exercise. It's used with throwing athletes. So baseball, football, throw, or quarterbacks. You got pitchers. They're using this. Pretty much all baseball athletes are doing it. For the longest time, we had like 5 or 6 goofy exercises we do. They all look stupid. This one I like a lot better, and it's worked really well. So, but got to get there, and getting there, we got to get pain to calm down and not be so terrible. So, are there specific things that you're like, man, I know if I do this, it's just gonna be terrible?
No. I do tree removal for work.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. So I'm like, so is there like a particular, like, heavier the workload, the worse it gets at night,
No, just
or sometimes it's not bad, and sometimes
no. And
it's really
I
bad?
just started this job about a couple months ago too,
Okay.
and this started shortly after I started.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it has anything to do with it or.
Oh, it definitely does. 'Cause,
And I mean, he did have a car accident months prior.
Like
And then
5 years
is that
ago.
the shoulder that had the
This was
surgery?
the one that had
Okay.
the anchor.
So,
okay.
yeah, he did end up having a car accident which totaled one of his cars. Could that have something to do with why, like, it's happening?
There's a number of thoughts, but I mean, the muscle that's primarily, I mean, I bet money the upper trap is the main one that elevates the shoulders. That's mainly what it does. It also rotates the shoulder blade as you lift your arm up. So it's, so lifting, carrying, that's what that muscle does. So if you just got a job that requires you to lift and carry, that's your guy. It's your right arm. I'm assuming you're right-handed.
Yeah.
So you use your right arm more than your left arm. It just makes sense to me.
Okay.
So that's why, to me, it's a slam dunk. You could go as a workman's comp case, but I'm assuming you're going to work in there 2 months. You don't want to piss off your boss. You're like, I mean, if this was going to cost you thousands of dollars, you might think twice. If it's not, great. It's easy enough to fix. So that's what happened. I don't want you to think, oh, crap, this is not going to get better. It's going to take a long time. Even though how terrible you feel right now.
Well, and usually it doesn't bug me at work.
Yeah.
It's just at
after
night
work,
when we're
it's-
like mellowing down.
Cool. Well, that's one plus, because it could be both. So, anywho, getting that muscle to quit spasming is one thing. So there's a couple of things we can do. And I don't know if all of you've tried. I mean, obviously there's creams and sprays and all sorts of
He's
stuff.
tried
Yeah.
some of the creams
Yeah.
and sprays, and nothing has worked.
So what I like to do the most is dry needling. That's where I stick an acupuncture needle into the muscle and get it to. gives up quickly. So that's my favorite, and I think it works the best. There's cupping. There is just straight up deep pressure, get that muscle to relax. So there's a number of tools. None of them feel great, but they all are trying to do the same thing, which is get the muscle to relax. Once the muscle's relaxed, then we need to train it. So this is how my brain works. I want the muscle to relax. I want to train that muscle, which is, I want you to think of training a dog. You do it every day. We do so it's not working a muscle to its full capacity till it fails, because that's strengthening. And when you take a muscle that has not been working properly and you try to get it to work properly, you don't do that, because that will just flare back up. So we want to work it to where it burns, but we don't want to work it to full failure. And we want to do it every day. So this is basically a 2-week plan. So we try to figure out how can we get that muscle to calm down. We work it till it burns every day. And then at about 2 weeks, I introduce you back to full-on strength training to failure 2 days a week.
Okay.
That is where you actually make a muscle bigger. And that's the solution to the problem. So you can see, I want to get to the solution. The solution is have a stronger muscle that works better for you. And it won't complain. And it won't act like an ornery muscle. And so then you get to the point where like, oh, how strong do I need to be? I turn you loose. Get as strong as you want to be. That's totally up to you, right? I mean, I don't want to be the person that tells you you should be this strong.
Yeah.
You can be as strong as you want to be. I don't know. So that's kind of how this works. So it generally, in a perfect world, takes about 2 weeks from start to finish to where somebody says, oh, this really sucks, to I feel super great. So
Don't you dare get any ideas about my situation.
What, pinch a nerve on you?
No, the fact that my back has been spasming central too.
Yeah, but you've
You
got
have a baby.
She's also got scoliosis.
Yeah, I was recommended to also come down here, but I haven't done anything about it yet. So
good.
I probably will talk to you about it more after
Okay.
today. So see
Wow.
what we can do for my issue as
You're
well.
due when?
The 22nd, but literally any time
Of this
now.
month?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
literally any time
Anything
now.
we do to you is just gonna
Make
probably
it
make things worse. Other than if it was SI stability, we could put a belt around you and hold your hips together a little bit better. But other than that, right now is not the time for you to
Yeah,
do
that's-
anything real new. You just get to endure, and then when you're done, after you have a baby, there's a whole lot.
Yeah.
And actually, Nicole's probably your best person to work with. She's the pelvic health person. So a little pelvic and low back combo is probably the smartest thing for you to feeling good and like a human being again, which I'm sure you're excited about.
Yeah.
But now is not the time to start
No.
anything, because you'll just be like, that sucks. Everything sucks.
I'm already to that point, man.
I know. And that's
I
why
haven't been getting sleep. I haven't been.
So that's why I don't judge you at all. Do whatever you got to do, girl, to get feeling good. And,
We've
and
tried
nothing works, and so
Yeah.
I would hate to be adding to that. Like, I went to this person, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, because nothing works. And it's like, well, you're kind of at a stage where nothing works, so that kind of stinks. I know. The sacrifice.
You
So
ready?
anyway, so that's kind of my little way of doing things. So I think that it works really, really well. Personally, I like to dry needle it after 1 week, because I find that that's when, if you're like, man, I have not slept at all for the last couple days, then now's the time to say, well, I'm ready for something to help me, so I can at least sleep. And
Yeah.
and that is something that will help, but I'll likely have to do it again. And so I'm kind of I like to do it once, make it look magical if I can. So if someone says they're sleeping fine, they just have shoulder pain, then I just wait a week. But if sleep is the most important thing, then generally I needle it, it will relax. You may not feel like it's super great tonight, but by tomorrow you will. That's my little spiel on that. I don't want to oversell anything. If it feels great tonight, great, but if it doesn't, it'll probably feel better by tomorrow, and you'll be like, oh, that feels good.
Yeah.
The whole point of it feeling good is to do those exercises and be as consistent as you can. So, anyways, so don't mean to be like, I know everything, but I haven't even touched you, because that's kind of audacious of me, but I'm gonna have some wild guesses. So we'll go ahead and prove whether or not I'm right or wrong. So you're able to lift your arm up over your head just
Yeah,
fine. Nothing
yeah.
range of motion wise.
No.
Okay, you're able to turn your head over your shoulder each way fine. Okay. So if I go through in here. It's not doing too great there, but probably not the worst spot. Anything right out here?
A little bit like in this corner here.
Where my fingers are right
Yeah,
here.
right there.
Okay, go ahead and stick your arm out like that. Don't let me pull it out. Is that painful?
A little.
A little bit. Try not to let me push it in. How's that? Right, straighten your arm out, thumb down, hold it up there, don't let me push it down. Push, push. Is that painful at all?
A little.
Let's try it up here, a little higher. Push.
A little.
Definitely not got a lot of power to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that might be a little deeper than just, it's a little more cuff related. So this muscle right here actually dies behind the shoulder and in the back side of the shoulder blade. So I can't even touch it. It's underneath this bone. So this is really the only window where I can get poke my fingers on it. You can stretch your arm. So if you were to reach back, like you were gonna smack the kid in the back seat, does that hurt?
A little.
Okay, so that's subscapularis. It's underneath that shoulder blade. It comes underneath and attaches right here. It does this motion. Okay, so as you stretch it out here, and I always say it's smacking the kid in the back seat because I'm not saying everybody does it, but when you reach in the back seat and you try to grab something, you're like, geez Louise, like I feel like it's gonna rip or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so nothing really changes, but I don't get to put a needle in that thing. I can needle this up here. So if this is where most of your pain and discomfort is, I can attack that. I can do a good job with that. That one, sorry, that's a bucket up. Suck it up, buttercup kind of a deal. Sadly.
Yeah.
The reality is so you have your different grades of rotator cuff injuries. Sprain, strain, tendinosis, and then you have tears. Anywhere in there, the ideal is to heal it up with stress. Okay? So when you stress something that is injured, so think of if you had a cut in your arm and you bandaged it up and you put it in a cast and then you take it off, that scar is really, it hasn't transitioned very well. But if there is stress as it's healing, it'll heal up a lot faster and even just a better quality. Same thing goes with these tendons in the shoulder. When you stress them the right amount, and we're going to go over what the right amount is, so don't think that's just some oblivious thing. But when you stress them the right amount regularly, it's like you're kicking it, trying to keep it healing, keep it healing, keep it healing. You don't want it to slow down or stall. And that's where tendonitis has come from. As you flare something up, you strain it, and then you're like, oh man, this sucked. And you have a weekend, you cool it off, and then you go back and flare it up again. And you're like, oh man, if I cool it off. Every time you do that, your body's like, let's heal it. And it throws down some scar tissue. But then if you stall it, it just kind of stays kind of like a lumpy scar tissue. And then you stress it. And instead of stressing it consistently, you stress it good, and it tears a little bit. Oh man, now it's pissed off even more. And over time, your body keeps growing more nerves into that one spot that are more sensitive. And so now, you don't have to do much to piss it off. Is it really injured when it pisses up? No, it's just this clump of crappy tissue and a lot of nerves. So it just becomes really sensitive. But over time, that's how you tear shit, because it's just got poor quality. And so you put a heavy load on it, crap snaps. Because scar tissue isn't elastic. It's a clump and it breaks easily. So that's why stress while you're healing is important. It's the right amount of stress. So I want you to think, when we talk about the right amount, I want you to think of that 0 to 10 pain scale. 0 is no pain, 10 is a hot poker in the eye. Your goal while you're stressing something is to be between a 3 and a 5. all times. And you never go past a 7. So that is, boom, I'm doing my exercises. If I'm not hitting a 3, I gotta crank it. If I'm getting to a 7, I need to stop. Also, once I stop, it should go away in 60 seconds. That tells you I did not tear or break, damage, anything. Doesn't mean it won't be achy later, doesn't mean it won't be sore, doesn't mean you won't feel it. But when you stop doing something, if that pain goes away in under 60 seconds, you're solid. You are not damaging, you're not making anything worse. If it takes longer than 60 seconds, then we need to take that number that you went to and bring it back. So if you went all the way to a 7, well, let's go to a 5. I get to a 5, I stop the exercise, does it calm down 60 seconds? If it does, golden. This is where I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay at a 5. Depending on how severe or how irritable that is, it depends on what you do. You may push it harder if it calms down really quick because it's just been so irritable, right? I mean, there's times you haven't done anything and it hurts and it's an 8, right?
Yeah.
And you're taking medicine and you're like, I know I'm not doing any damage, I'm just trying to sleep. But sometimes when you're in that point, you can do an exercise and you're like, at first you're like, geez, Louise, that sucks. And you stop, calms down, do it again, and it gets easier. It's stupid. You're like, man, that doesn't make sense. Well, the reality is that that's what the nervous system is doing. The nervous system is overreacting and saying this is a bigger deal than what it is.
Yeah.
Does that kind of make sense? Like, you're like, freak, I feel like garbage. I know there's nothing that terrible going on with me, and you're trying to figure that out. And so, trying to stress that tissue is one way to calm it down, inevitably. So that's kind of cool when you have confidence with that. But it'll take a little while before you're like, oh yeah, it's totally good, working good. So what's typically going to happen is this exercise is going to overall make your shoulder a little grumpy,
Okay.
a little more grumpy.
Oh, goody.
So this is my promise, and I need you to kind of stick with it. So the first 7 days are not so much fun. Take ibuprofen, ice it, heat it, do whatever you got to do to calm it down.
I can help
But
you.
do
bud.
your exercises consistently, and at about between day 7 and day 10, it starts to get better. You start to say, oh, it's getting easier. I'm going up in resistance. I've got to chase it a little bit harder. By the time you get to that end of the week 2, you're cranking. You're cranking pretty hard. Maybe even like as hard of a band as I can give you. You're ripping them, and then you're like, man, I can barely get it to a 3. Awesome. Now we're ready to really push hard. So at that point, this exercise that I do is called a face press. So there's a band. We're going to pull that band with your thumbs to your ears, press it up overhead, bring it back down, let it out. That's the exercise.
Okay.
Once we get to that 2-week point, then we start to add components of that. So there's overhead pressing, there is reverse flies. You know, I could keep adding more and more crap, but ultimately I break it down into different pieces for strengthening purposes. But like a row, a bent row, I want to be more functional for your work. Like, okay, I've got to do this for work. But straining, when you feel that right there in the front, I really want you to think about how you're going to pull that shoulder blade back. Prevention of this is going to be all about the back of the shoulder. So I want you to visualize, and you know, I may be wrong, but if you're over here and you're picking something up, this whole shoulder is tractioned out.
Yeah.
It's at its most vulnerable. So anytime that shoulder blade is forward and the shoulder is here, kind of like how you're pulling it right now, this shoulder it wants to come out of the socket. When it is back here, now the muscles are now tightened and it's pulling it in. So if I'm carrying something heavy and I'm holding it with my shoulder back, my shoulder is in very low risk. If I'm carrying that big heavy log or a bag of concrete and my shoulders are here, all of a sudden now they're at the most vulnerable part. So the biceps are doing a great job. They're not letting go, feel super strong, but you're starting to do one of these jobs here. That shoulder blade's coming all the way out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna wanna strengthen that shoulder blade to be able to hold back all the time. So if the shoulder blade is strong and potentially stronger than the bicep, then it's always gonna hold everything back. And the rotator cuff is gonna be, the exposure is so low. The risk of having it tear is gonna be much lower. Shoulder blade forward. So that will be my heart. And that's the cool thing about this exercise is you can't do this and keep your shoulders forward. It's just impossible, it doesn't work. So we're gonna train those shoulder blade muscles to work really hard. The rotator cuff is still working the whole time while you're doing this. But we're coming here, the shoulders are pinching. You're gonna come up here, they're still pinching, bring it down, they're still pinching, and then you let it out. It's gonna be like, oh my gosh. first you're gonna not really love this exercise, but after a week or so, you're gonna start getting into the point where you're like, dude, I feel kind of jacked because I'm doing this exercise. It's what like when you do bicep curls, you're like, man, my biceps must be huge. You look down, and you're like, they didn't get any bigger. So you don't say anything, right? But you want to say something like, I feel like they're huge. It's gonna be the same thing. Those muscles start to feel big. Just don't look at them. You'll be all right. Just in your mind, they're huge and they look good. But it's a good way to really change the whole dynamic of that shoulder and keep it safe. Because, dude, I'll tell you what, there's lots of dudes who are in their 50s who look like total hell. And they worked hard their whole life and they just have poor mechanics. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I've torn this rotator cuff. You know, I've jacked my back up. And I'm telling you, this exercise combined with deadlifts is going to keep your back strong and your shoulder strong. Those are the weak points. Shoulder, back. Biceps, not. The wrist, not really. Elbows usually do just fine. It's your low back and your shoulder. They're so mobile, but if you work them well, they'll hold up and they will be the stronger points. And so, to me it's important because I don't like to feel vulnerable. I like to be able to try to pick up something, and if I can't pick it up, it's because I'm not strong enough. I'm afraid my back or something's gonna get hurt. And that's officially you're old at that point in my mind. So that's my thought. Okay, so sorry I don't have a quick fix for that shoulder, but we'll move on.
We will take however time it needs.
So we're gonna start with and so we're gonna start with so I've had a shoulder injury since I was 19, and I really never recovered well from it until I did this with one of my patients a couple of years ago. And it's kind of cool because every time I went to go throw a football with my kid, it would start hurting after like 5 throws. Okay, so you're going to start with your arms straight out in front of you, and you're going to bring it back to where your thumbs are at your ears.
Okay.
And you're going to be pinching your shoulder blades back, reach up towards the sky, bring it back down, let it out. The first couple, you're probably like, that kind of hurts. Okay?
Okay, so bring it.
So bring it like you're doing a W.
I'm doing it.
So take it one more step back, let your arms go straight out in front of you, and then you're just bringing right here. Your thumb should be by your ears, and you feel like you're doing a W position with your arms.
So,
You're pinching the shoulder blades,
yeah.
push up toward the sky, bring it back down, let it on out. So you're gonna rip out 14 more of those. Tell me when it starts to burn in the back of your shoulder.
How's it feeling, babe?
You got right there.
Yeah? Okay, we're gonna do 5 more. This is what keeps. I recommend going on Amazon and getting a band kit. I can always find them for $20 or less because I can't make them. And it's really nice to have the handles. And I truly believe like this is something you want to keep with you for a while.
Yeah.
Not just until I feel better. You're just gonna keep it up. And so, especially so you feel good working. So I'm gonna give you some bands until they break, but so think about like, oh, when would be a good time to spend money on that? And if you need help finding them, I can send you links on Amazon. But yeah, I can usually find them for $19. Our goal is to get to the silver. Silver is going to be a butt kicker, but once you can do 3 sets of 15 with silver, and all you have is muscle burn, you're doing great. Like that's our goal over the next 2 weeks is to get to silver.
Perfect.
My guess is that after 3 or 4 days, you're like, oh, I'll try black. Black's going to be a butt kicker too, and then you're going to be like, oh, that's way harder. But hopefully, the pain, following that pain rule, that you're like, oh, I can do this. And once you get used to black, then you go to silver, and silver is just way harder than it is going from blue to black. So, oftentimes I'll find, especially for myself, that I'll do 1 set with silver, and then I'm like, I'm going back to black. So you flirt with one and the other, just you're sticking with those rules of pain and discomfort, you're pushing those muscles, and but if you're like, man, it's creeping up my shoulder, it's all up in here, let me know. I've got a tool. I've got stuff to make that feel better. Because it's going to be in there with the rest of this. But this has been my favorite thing. Like I used to have a different routine for rotator cuff and shoulder stuff, and it just took a while. And since I've been doing this is a lot faster. I know it doesn't sound fast. 2 weeks doesn't sound super fast, but this is pretty fast. And I mean, I've even had guys in their early 60s. But guarantee you, when you start thinking about quitting, you text me and say, this really sucks. We'll talk through it. But last thing I want is you to come in and be like, oh, that really sucked. I'm not doing that again. Like, if you feel like it's not working and you really are debating whether or not to do it, you contact me, because I will hoorah you through it.
Oh yeah, I used to have a weights coach that was ex-world's strongest man. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I know how sucky it can get right about that day 7, day 10, because every time I was like, that sucked. And so, if you're like, dude, you need a little boost, like, you let me know, I will give you the hoorah speech on how to do that, okay? Because ultimately, I don't know, I assume everybody doesn't want to come see me forever, so let's try to do it nice and fast. And I think it's not fun, but it is fun that things can heal that fast, and I don't know, I really like it. So this is like the main thing. I'm not gonna give you anything else, and there's not like 5, 10 things. I mean, I could, but it's just really not that valuable. So with these at home, you can shut this knot in the door. You can put this on a doorknob on the opposite side of the door, shut it in the door, and that's how it anchors. Or you could wrap it around anything, I guess, and feed it through the hole. So kind of figured it out at home. But the kit always has like an anchor, and it comes with these tubes and handles. And again, like if you were gonna go make handles and find something that hooks into a door that has like a webbing with like a dowel in it, and then a little hook, and it shuts in the door, and that's how it anchors. I don't think you could make it for $20. I just don't think you can. I mean, if I had crap around the house, I just don't think I could do it. I have plenty of tubing, so if you ever broke your tubing, I have plenty of that to replace it. But the handles and the stuff, and that's why I'm like, oh, if you own it, then if you're ever like, oh man, my shoulder's starting to act up again, just rip out that one exercise and just crank it for a couple days, and you'll probably be tuned in out pretty quick. But I really like it. That's why I do it with all my patients, because I'm afraid I'll go back to wussy shoulder guy that starts crying after I throw the ball 5 times and as hard as I can. So it's worked for me. But I went from probably 19 to like 30, I don't know, I'm 40. So I was 43, and I think I just started doing this a couple years ago. So I went through almost 20 years where my shoulder hurt when I did stuff. So that's kind of stupid, right? Like being somebody who should know better. So here we go. We're gonna go through 2 more sets. Again, your shoulder's gonna be a little achy tonight, and
I'll rub it for you, baby.
okay. Hold up those ears, press it up high, bring it back to the ears, and let it on out. My favorite way to share this exercise is through video. So if you have Instagram, I have a great Instagram video. If not, I have a YouTube video I can send you. But I think video is a great way to just reference.
Yeah.
Because they talk through it the whole time. Oh, of course, they're all jacked and no one wears a shirt, but whatever. You get the gist of it. And I kind of like this downward angle. So basically, like, I attach it about the navel. You'll see other people who do it straight across. I just think that the angle is trying. So when your arms are up here, you're trying to hold your shoulder back. It's just trying to just pull you down. So you're just resisting that angle. Whereas if it was straight across, it would be a little easier. I don't know. I just think it's get the most out of it this way.
You're doing great, Bill.
And then remember, I go 5 repetitions into a burn. So are you feeling it?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3,
Good job, baby.
4, 5.
And we will will for sure make something work for
Okay.
everything.
Well,
I just want him to be 100%, especially with 3 kids.
I totally get it. No, and I'm all about making sure I go
And
work.
plus, he's been helping me even with my back issues. Even when I'm
Yeah.
not pregnant, he's been.
Yeah.
If he's gonna show me that respect, I'm gonna show him the same thing.
Awesome. So.
Doing okay?
I really, really like this. I've had so much good luck with it. I really won't ever go back to the old way of doing things. I just really like this exercise a lot. So, just, so I really push people to stick with it though, just because, even me, like every time I would work myself up to the silver band and I'd not do it for a couple weeks or a month, and then I'd go back and I'm like, this thing is terrible. It's so hard. But once you do it a couple times, you're like, oh man, it gets easier pretty quick. And then you start to have that whole, like, I think I'm super buff. Luckily, it's in a place I can't see that I'm not super buff. So. but it works good. And it's been able to, every once in a while, there's a little fine tuning I have to do. Like, maybe it's like, oh, it still hurts when I kind of get here. Well, guess what? I do that motion. And I resist that motion. So it's really not too complex. We take the motion that is painful. So if I can't get it all smoothed out with just this one move, we'll find that move that's painful and then we'll just go into resisting that motion and we'll just stress it. Again, we're trying to stress it and spur it to heal all the way to make sure so when scar tissue comes in, it transitions to a tissue that is most like the tissue it's attached to. So bone doesn't flex very much. So it doesn't need very much elastic. Skin is very elastic. It needs to have a lot of that. So if you don't stress it, it doesn't stretch very good. Muscle, more stretchy than tendon. And so sometimes those tears are right there where the muscle and tendon meet together. So it's got a little mix of stretchiness and not stretchiness. And so if you don't stress it, it doesn't really know what it's supposed to be. And so it's kind of cool that it's that simple, but it really is just how tissues heal. And so I like teaching that pain principle because you can use that for everything. You use that when your knees hurt really bad. You're like, well, what hurts when I do it? Oh, climbing the stairs. Maybe I should. If I climb the stairs and I stop, does it go away? All right, great. Let's try that a little bit. So it gives you a little confidence of when can I do something that isn't going to make my life worse, and when should I just really stop because that's probably going to make my life worse. And when you hurt really bad, it's really hard to make those decisions. Mm-hmm. So having something that's concrete, and I also have a Instagram little thing that somebody already made, and it has the pain and how to work with pain. And it's just like one little sheet. So anyways, I like it. And I was like, oh, it's simple. It makes sense. All right, one more, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
There's 10. How many more we need to do?
Starting to feel a little bit.
Okay, let's go 5 more.
Doing great, baby.
That's awesome. So when you get to the point where you're doing 3 sets of 15 and you're like, yeah, I'm really not getting any burn out of this, crank it up to the next band.
Okay.
You could even go to 20 and be like, okay, now it's time to go to the next band. But
Now,
you're
I
gonna
know
be
how
flirting
you
with
are,
it.
Mr. I'm cocky, so don't try and overdo yourself.
No, I don't understand.
Okay.
So,
That's the last thing I need for you to do, is for you to be too cocky.
are you taking ibuprofen when you're hurting? What do you use?
I use Tylenol most of the time.
Do you? Okay. Does it work good for you?
Not really.
Tramadol is usually what he
takes.
takes.
Yeah, every once in a while I have to take Tramadol. That usually helps.
So, again, I mean, I like ibuprofen personally. It works good for me. So.
Never works for me.
Never works for you. Okay.
No.
How much when you take the ibuprofen? How many do you usually take? Like 2?
Like 4.
4, and it doesn't work.
No.
Oh, don't take more than
I have
that.
a high pain tolerance.
Okay. So take what works. You know, sleep is super important. When they did sleep studies to show whether or not people would benefit from pain medicine versus sleep medicine, they found that people who slept better had less pain. I know, part of you thinks, well, if you have less pain, you sleep better. But when they medicate people to sleep better, they automatically, their pain goes down. So when you're short on sleep, your pain is just automatically going to go up. So just think about how important pain or sleep is, and you controlling your pain. You already know it's important, but I'm just like to always point that out that when you have that going on, you're not sleeping well, it's not a bad idea to ask for something to help you sleep. I think it's a good idea, to be honest with you, and I think the research shows that that's the smartest thing to do. So usually doctors are super cool with, because it's less addictive and it's easier on your body.
Yeah.
Like if you took a whole bunch of ibuprofen every day for 3 or 4 months, like you could get a GI bleed. So that's not worth it.
Yeah.
So anyways, just some thoughts to keep in your head as you go throughout this next couple weeks.
I'll be here every step of the way, baby.
So, what questions do you have? Concerns or anything?
No?
Okay. So, eventually, I would like to do overhead pressing and rows, just because I
Okay.
think those are super important. But this is a row, this is an overhead press, so we're it's in here. But when it comes to getting strength, like I want to get stronger, this is a great warm up. Those are great ways to get stronger. And you still, everything you use your shoulder for, you use rotator cuff. But I like to do rows in a bent row. The cheapest thing to do, 2 5-gallon buckets and cinder blocks or.
Hey, babe.
I've got a bench press at home.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
I've got a bench
he
press and a pull-up
he and my
bar.
dad have been building their own kind of
Yeah,
like
I'm
gym
making my own
equipment.
gym.
Nice.
My
Yeah.
dad is currently unemployed,
Yeah.
and when he has time off for like holidays or just the weekends, him and my dad are always doing projects in the
Yeah.
garage. So he has been making his own gym equipment, and he's
Cool.
just been, he's been
Awesome.
knocking it out of the
Yeah,
park.
All we've got left on my bench is the rack.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been knocking it out of the park.
Cool.
So
Well, that's awesome.
I gotta run. We have to get off before we can schedule.
Okay, sounds good. We're pretty square for 2 whole weeks, so. So I'm gonna give you my cell phone number, it's on my card. I want you to text me if you have any questions.
His
Text me and say
phone-
I want my videos.
Yeah.
So you just text me and say, hey, this is who I am, and can you send me those videos, and I'll text you videos.
okay.
And if you're like, hey man, I don't know if this is working out so good, text me. Like I wanna know. Like the last thing I wanna do is like see you in a week or 2 and be like, yeah, it didn't work out. I would think I was like gave you the greatest thing ever. Yeah. So if it's not working, let me know. We'll try something different.
All right.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it'll work, but there's always a chance
And
it's not
babe,
guaranteed.
this could, after we have the baby and everything, he could also help me get stronger and help with my scoliosis.
You need to get stronger.
I know.
You're a toothpick.
He has been talking to me about wanting
There's
me to
days
come
that
in
I've seen
here.
the wind blow her over.
Yeah.
Like he's been like, even when I'm pregnant or not, I've been still having issues with my scoliosis and it hurting my back and it just spasming central. Like even now, it's
Yeah.
attacking. So
Well,
he's just been, now that we have you and we know you, like we don't know you personally, but we've talked to you before, so we can't wait
It's all
to
good.
see what these next 2 weeks.
yeah. No, this is a pretty solid program. I've had it work for me so much, so I act a little, probably a little too confident. Some eventually
I
it
can
won't
do
work or
it.
something,
If
but-
you can do it, I know I can too. Maybe you'll give me the effort and the push that I need to actually ask him for some help. So.
I've tried doing that with absolutely everything that you need help with, and it never works.
Be quiet.
Absolutely everything. You're just too stubborn.
That's alright. You'll get
All
there.
women are stubborn.
You're a typical woman.
Yeah, you just ride that. I practiced through school on my way, and she was going to touch her forever.
Yeah, we got
She was like, I hurt. Nope, you're not touching me.
Yeah, we got together back in middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been together for a long, long time now. We're married and have going to be 3 kids. So
That's awesome.
our oldest is 3, youngest is 1, and now newborn here in a couple weeks.
That's fun and crazy all at the same time.
Yeah.
But you miss it, even though you're like, this is crazy. But, yeah, you always miss that part.
What made you want to start physical therapy, like being a...
Oh, I was in trucking a lot of my life. My dad owned a trucking company, so we did construction, and I don't know. I just realized that working for my old man was not going to be
Ooh,
a good
Ooh.
deal.
I can see what he meant.
Yeah, that one's gonna be spicy.
Do you know what the pounds on these are? Like, for
Shoot,
what
I
would be?
probably. I think it's on the box. Say what the pound. It's a range. Force. There is a website that I've gone to in the past when I was curious. But the weird thing about bands is the force gets greater the farther you pull it, which is not normal, right? Weight doesn't get heavier the farther you move it. You get based on gravity.
Yeah.
And so that's why bands they're cheap and they're easy to use, but they're probably not always the best for sure. So this is, through that preparatory period. But eventually, these are warm-up tools before you go and you lift heavy weights.
So
But-
I use dumbbells for that after a while.
But research will show you that the people who have the healthiest shoulders can lift the most overhead. So overhead pressing, which used to be identified as what causes most rotator cuff injuries, is not actually true, and it is those who do overhead pressing end up having the healthiest shoulders of all. Rows are second. Bench press has 0 to do with shoulder health.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is what
more
we,
chest.
it's just chest. And how many times in your life you're like, man, I wish I could just push harder. It's not. So it's one of those lifts that we did in high school that we thought was super great, and it's really pointless. Because rarely in your life will you be like, man, if I was just stronger, I could have pushed that grocery cart a little
I do
harder.
it on a weekly basis. We have to move big,
Yeah.
600-700 pound splitters across the
Oh yeah.
huge yard. Yeah.
Well, that ends up being, so that's obviously the biggest muscle of the shoulder, but it's rarely the weakest on individuals.
Yeah.
Women maybe, but most men are not like, oh man, I really need to get this going. And it's like, no, you need to get the backside of the shoulder going. And that's where I find most of the happiness. So any high school kid I get with a shoulder issue, it's always because they just focused on bicep curls and bench press, and their shoulders are now right here because of all that pull. So if you're finding yourself like, oh yeah, I love doing bench press, it doesn't mean you don't ever do bench press again. But you want to think how you want to alternatively do rows, and I'm specifically thinking bent rows to offset the pec, and so then you support that shoulder and it's even instead of lopsided. So cool.
Perfect.
All right. Well, here's my card, and I'll type that up. Hopefully by tomorrow, and it usually takes them a week for the authorization. So she'll give you a call. If we don't give you a call in the next week, please do call us. And
Perfect.
I'd rather you be on the schedule. We don't have authorization and say, hey, we need to wait another. I don't know. But just we'll
If my phone kind of glitches out, so it's
Okay.
kinda
You'll
hard
have
to hear
both
when
of
it
our
works,
numbers.
So
Okay.
she'll text you too.
Okay, cool.
Hers kind of glitches out every once in a while too.
That's why text is always best. 'Cause
Yeah. You'll have both of our numbers.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure if he's got any questions for you
Yeah.
about his stuff, he'll ask. If not,
Okay.
you'll be hearing from me. So
Because if I don't answer, call me back 20 minutes later. I'll probably answer.
Okay.
he's always got his phone on him now, especially since I'm doing a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So
You just kind of can't really hear your phone over loud equipment.
Oh no, I totally get it.
Got 2 splitters and a tractor running all day long, chainsaws running in the back. It's one of those
Every once in a while
you
I
gotta
need
feel
to-
the vibration of the phone call.
There you go. Well, yeah. So just text me sometime tonight, and let me know if you prefer an Instagram or a YouTube video. Either way, it's fine.
YouTube for him.
YouTube.
I do well with
Okay.
Instagram, so
So I'll
both.
send you the YouTube video, and that's just a great reference. So you just
Perfect.
look at it and then jam. And then I can also send you a link to the Amazon band kit.
Please, yeah.
I think it's just, to me, it's just an easy way, because these will break, especially if you use them every day, they'll break pretty quick. Especially shutting them in a door.
Yeah.
It just kind of.
We'll figure something out.
Which is
Knowing
fine. They're designed to break.
knowing him and my dad, they'll make something to make something work. So
And there's
they'll
lots of creativity things, but I wish there was something better at Walmart that I could just send you to. But
Right.
The thing is they have like this. They have a 3-band kit that has handles on the ends. And they're pretty short, and they're still $20.
yeah.
And I'm like, well, the one I send you has more bands. It's better, and it just doesn't work for anybody else. So I feel bad asking people to buy stuff, but this.
If it helps, it helps.
It's try to keep it as low key as possible. Some people are really into buying exercise equipment, and that's cool. So I'm like, hey, all right,
He's
I'll
getting
stick
to that
with
point.
I build mine. My pull-up bar we welded.
Yeah.
And made out of
My
an old
dad-
tube and some angle iron, and then we
Nice.
bolted it to the ceiling in the garage.
Oh, that's cool.
My dad made a trash can that wasn't made to be like wheeled around.
He
Yeah.
made a
Like-
cart with tire iron.
A
And
bunch of
some-
old
a
tools.
few different old tools, and then he used a crowbar for the handle to move it around.
They
That's
have
cool.
been finding just new things to make
Yeah, we
and
get-
So you guys are still at the trailer park over here?
no,
No,
we
we're
are back
not.
with my dad
Yeah.
at
Oh, cool.
613 East 10th,
Nice.
Yeah.
past the high school.
Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
I remember hoping you get out of the snow last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
live right across. from the
We're
trailer park.
living back with my dad
Oh, cool.
just for a little bit until our taxes come in
Oh, fun.
this year, and then we're gonna find a 3 to 4 bedroom house that will suit us and our dog.
Yeah, it'll take us probably 15 years to pay it off though, because it ain't gonna be cheap for a 3-4 bedroom house.
And then he's gonna just do his own thing. So
Yeah.
while I'm
Cool.
taking care of the kids.
Awesome. That's the motherly thing. It's hard,
Yeah.
but it's a good time.
Yeah, we're excited. And
Yeah, no, I remember being in there, and I thought, oh, just work all the time, and yeah, then I turned it all upside down when my wife was pregnant with our second one. I'm like, I think I should go back to school.
we're excited.
So we lived with my
And-
in-laws for ever. I think we lived in the basement, I think, for like 7 years, 8 years while I was in school. So
Yeah,
it
we're living
kinda
in the
sucked.
basement right now.
Yeah,
so-
and I stopped going to school for a bit, but I've been thinking about going back and
Yeah, what are you
finishing. Yeah, I never finished high school, so
yeah.
due to the kids
Yeah.
and everything, I've been thinking about going back to school and getting my diploma and doing some online college courses.
You
And
know what's been cool? I've met so many gals here who have started in like cleaning or the kitchen, and they're nurses. Like they're just gonna work their way through. I mean, it's been. I've never seen it anywhere like so many. Like
On the
usually there'll be like
factory.
1 or 2. Here, there's probably like 8 people I work with who used to work in a entry level position, and now they're a nurse. And it's just kind of they do their thing, and it's really cool. I think it's super neat that there's so many people here who just kind of plow through that whole process. And it is.
that's kind of what
It's a
we're
grind,
doing.
but it's cool.
Yeah, that's what we've just been doing.
Yeah.
Just trying to get through everything, no matter what obstacles come in our way.
Yeah.
In this case, it's him and his shoulder, and
Yeah.
us being pregnant with our 3rd child. So
Yeah. Well,
it's been difficult. This pregnancy has had a lot of scares, and
how's it?
yeah, I've been spotting. I've fallen recently, and
Oh, jeez.
yeah, we've been
That's
in and out of
stressful.
here for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been rough, but we've been
Well,
getting by.
good luck. You're almost done.
Yeah.
You'll be good. Hopefully everything works out lovely.
Oh. Yeah, hopefully.
You ain't gonna get close.
No, I'm not ready to get close. Yeah, they might induce me tonight, depending on if I'm dilating or not. So,
Fun stuff.
yay. You ready to go see our baby?
Okay. Good luck, guys.
Thank
Holler
you.
at me.